Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and explore what we're going to call the vault of student data privacy. If you have a kid in the school system, you already know that records are just a routine part of school life. But how often do we actually stop and think about the incredible privacy rights attached to those records? Well, today, we're going to unlock that vault, guided by the foundational federal law and Utah's highly specific state safeguards. We're taking all that complex legal jargon and breaking it right down, so you know exactly who has access to your family's educational data. So, here's our quick roadmap for this explainer. We're going to hit the student record vault, then look at who holds the keys, dive into the federal exceptions, explore Utah's added privacy layer, and finally, wrap up with some really practical action steps for families.
All right, Section 1, the Student Record Vault. We're going to look at understanding FERPA's baseline protection.
To start, we really need to understand the federal bouncer guarding your child's data. It's actually super interesting how broadly FERPA defines education records. I think a lot of families just assume this means a report card or maybe a high school transcript, right? But no, it actually includes practically any materials directly related to a student and maintained by a school or even someone acting for the school. So we're talking about attendance history, special education documents, disciplinary files, and yes, even many of the school health records kept by the nurse's office. It is a massive, completely comprehensive vault of information.
Now, because that vault holds so much sensitive information, FERPA grants parents 5 critical keys. Number 1, you have the right to inspect and review these records. Number 2, if you spot something wrong, you have the right to request an amendment to fix inaccurate or misleading info. Number 3, and this is a big one, you have the right to consent to most disclosures of personally identifiable information. 4, you must receive an annual notice of these rights. And 5, if things go completely sideways, you have the right to file a formal complaint. These 5 keys essentially keep parents in total control of how this information is handled.
Moving on to Section 2, who holds the keys? This is all about the transfer of power. Okay, here's where our journey gets truly interesting. Because those 5 keys we just talked about, well, they don't actually stay in the parents' hands forever. This brings us to a major pivot point that catches so many families completely by surprise. What happens to the vault when a student turns 18? Or, for that matter, what happens if they're under 18 but enroll in a post-secondary institution, like a college? It's basically the coming-of-age moment for student records.
There's a massive shift that happens here. When a student is under 18 and in K-12 education, the parents are fully running the show. They control the rights. But literally the moment a student turns 18 or enrolls in college, they become what FERPA calls an eligible student. In an instant, they inherit all of those FERPA rights. The keys pass directly and exclusively from the parent to the student.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this legally alters the relationship between the school and the family. Even if you're the parent footing the college tuition bill or the student still lives under your roof, the school legally requires the student's formal permission before sharing protected information. If a college student wants their parent involved in navigating financial aid, checking disciplinary records, or just glancing at their grades, they have to actively grant consent. The school simply cannot bypass the student. No exceptions.
That brings us to Section 3, the federal exceptions. When exactly does the vault open without consent?
Okay, so we've established that consent is king, but the vault isn't hermetically sealed. The law totally recognizes that schools still need to actually function day to day, so there are strict legal exceptions. The most heavily utilized exception revolves around this exact phrase, legitimate educational interest. A school official can access a student's records without getting prior consent, but only if they have a professional need to know that information to do their job. Meaning, not just any school employee gets a free pass. Your kid's favorite teacher from last year can't just casually look up their current grades out of curiosity. There must be an active, legitimate educational interest.
Beyond those school officials, there are a few other highly specific exceptions. Schools can share designated directory information, like names and honors, provided they gave families a chance to opt out first. They can also open the vault during health and safety emergencies, when responding to subpoenas or court orders, or during authorized legal audits. But keep in mind, these are carefully defined tools to allow schools to function during emergencies or legal mandates. They are absolutely not open-ended permissions to just share data however they please. Next up is Section 4, Utah's added privacy layer. Let's look at local rules and state governance.
Now that we understand the federal baseline rules, we need to see exactly how Utah handles this data in daily practice, because federal law that's really only half the story. Utah doesn't just treat student data as casual, everyday paperwork. They actually view it as a highly structured compliance area. Utah builds really heavily upon that FERPA foundation, utilizing specific State Board of Education guidance. They emphasize that handling personally identifiable student information isn't just about filing things away in a cabinet somewhere. It's about strict data security and proactive privacy management.
So how does Utah actually pull this off? Well, they utilize formal data governance processes and rigorous third-party vendor agreements. I mean, just think about all the educational apps and online tools students use on their tablets today. Utah schools are required to ensure those specific vendors comply with privacy rules. They also use secure administrative tools, like the Utah Transfer Record Exchange System, to move data safely between schools. Every single step of the way is mandated to align with both federal FERPA standards and state-level data expectations.
Finally, Section 5, Action Steps for Families. This is your practical playbook.
We've covered all the laws and the keys, but what does this actually mean for you when you're facing a lost transcript or some brand new school app? Well, here are your first 3 plays in the playbook. Step 1. Don't wait for a problem to pop up. Ask for your school's annual FERPA notice and directory policy today, just to see what you can opt out of. Step 2. Read that notice to review exactly how your specific school defines things like education records and school officials. And Step 3. Be your own backup. Keep copies of report cards, transcripts, and vital correspondence. It's really all about proactively managing your family's data.
Let's keep going with the playbook. Step 4. If you spot a mistake, protect your rights by submitting a formal written request to amend the record. Don't just do it verbally. Step 5. When the school introduces a new online tool, go ahead and ask if the vendor operates under a FERPA-compliant agreement. And Step 6, which is perhaps the absolute most important for parents of teenagers, sit down and discuss record access before that 18th birthday arrives. Plan ahead for that massive shift in power so everyone is on the exact same page when the student takes the keys.
We've covered the federal vault, and we've covered Utah's added armor, but it really leaves us with one vital final thought. A locked vault is completely useless if you're handing out the keys without even realizing it. So are you actively protecting your family's digital footprint, or are you kind of just assuming the school is doing it all for you? Don't wait for a data breach to find out. Read your school's FERPA notice today and take real control of your educational future.